The final scene of Heartland Season 18 is not just an ending. It feels like a quiet promise. It pulls together years of love, loss, and growth into one powerful moment. Fans are left holding their breath, waiting to see what the future holds. For Amy and her family, the sun is setting over the Heartland Ranch, painting the wide sky in orange and gold. The horses move slowly in the pasture, their silhouettes strong against the fading light. The ranch is quiet, but it is not empty. There is a sense of peace, the kind that comes after storms have passed. You can almost hear the air carrying the sound of every memory that has been made here. The wooden fences that have seen years of struggle and joy stand steady, strong like the family that has lived here. The grass waves gently in the evening wind, carrying the smell of earth and hay. As if the land itself is exhaling after a long season of trials, Amy stands by the paddock, her eyes following a horse that reminds her of every lesson she has learned. Her face shows strength, but also a touch of softness that comes when someone knows they have carried heavy weight and finally found the ground again. She breathes deeply, as though the ranch itself is giving her the courage to step forward. The light of the sunset touches her hair, making her look like she belongs to the land, part of it, unshaken, eternal. In the distance, Jack leans on the fence. His presence is quiet but powerful. He watches Amy, his granddaughter, with pride. He has seen her fall and rise again, and in this moment, his silence speaks more than words ever could. Tim is nearby, restless as always, but even he is calmer. Tonight, as though he too feels that this place is more than just a ranch, it is home. Lou stands with Katie, pointing toward the horizon, telling her daughter how this ranch has always been about family, about holding on to each other, even when things get hard. The camera moves slowly across their faces, showing the deep connection they share. They do not need long speeches. Their bond is shown in small gestures. A hand on a shoulder, a smile, a nod. These are the ways they speak in this moment. The land around them is quiet, yet it feels alive, as if it knows this family is earned this peace. The scene is built on years of struggle, love, and forgiveness, and the ranch is the silent witness to it all. This is not a loud ending. It is gentle, powerful in its calmness. It tells the viewers that endings do not always need fireworks. Sometimes they come like a sunset, warm, steady, and full of hope for the morning that will follow. It feels like a pause, not a finish. A breath before the next story begins. Amy steps closer to the horse in the paddock, her hand brushing lightly across its mane, and in that small gesture, the weight of her journey is seen. She is not only a trainer now, not just the girl who once tried to heal horses. She is a woman who has learned to heal herself. The final scene shows her as calm, but behind that calmness lies the memory of every storm she faced. You can see it in the way she breathes in the evening air, steady, grounded, as though she has made peace with the past and is ready to step into whatever comes next. Behind her, Jack watches with quiet pride. His eyes are softer than usual, carrying the wisdom of a man who has carried his family through decades of hardship. Jack does not need to say anything. His silence is like an embrace. For him, Amy is not just a granddaughter. She is proof that love and resilience pass from one generation to another. He leans slightly forward, as though the act of watching her stand so strong has lifted something heavy from his shoulders. For years, Jack has been the rock, the steady voice when everything else shook. Now, in this moment, he allows himself to rest, to simply admire how far they all have come. Tim stands a few steps away, though he has always been restless. Tonight his posture carries a kind of surrender. His arms are folded, but not in defense. His face holds a quiet recognition. The kind you only see in someone who knows he has made mistakes but has finally been forgiven enough to stay. Tim's eyes shift between Amy and Jack, as though silently thanking them both for letting him be here in this moment. Part of this family's ending and possible new beginning. Lou's voice breaks the silence gently as she speaks to Katie, pointing to the land stretched out in front of them. She tells her daughter that Heartland has always been more than fences, barns, and horses. It has been the center of their family, a place where roots go deep and hearts always find their way back. Katie listens closely, her her face open and curious, absorbing every word. She is young, but in her expression is the hint of future strength. It is as if the ranch itself is already claiming her, guiding her toward the role she may someday take, just as Amy once did. Together, they stand as a family. Different in age, different in struggles, but united in this one frame. Each of them carries their own past, their own scars, but in this final scene, those differences dissolve. What remains is unity, the kind that cannot be broken by distance or mistakes. It is not about perfect people, but about people who continue to choose each other, again and again. The camera lingers, shifting slowly from one face to another. It does not rush. It lets the audience breathe in the closeness of this moment. The silence among them is not empty, is full, rich with the weight of everything they have lived through. The presence of these characters side by side says more than words could, no matter what happens next. They are bound together by something unshakable. The final scene shifts into its most powerful heartbeat when Amy steps away from the paddock and moves closer to the family. The camera does not rush, follows her slowly, every step heavy with meaning. For a long moment, Amy looks at them not as separate people, but as one thread of her life, all woven together. Her eyes rest on Jack first, then Tim, then Lou. And Katie, the silence between them feels almost louder than words. It is a silence filled with history, with every argument, every tear, and every embrace they have shared. Then Amy speaks, not in a grand speech, but in words so simple they carry the weight of truth. She says she finally understands what Heartland really is. It is not just land or barns or horses. It is every hand that held hers when she was lost, every voice that called her back when she wandered too far. Heartland is the people who stand beside her, even when the storms try to break them apart. Her voice shakes a little, but not from fear only, from the flood of emotion rising inside her. The family listens quietly, their eyes locked on her, as if they know these words are not just spoken for them, but for every person who has ever found a home in this place. The moment deepens when Jack steps forward. His hand rests gently on Amy's shoulder, and his voice, low and steady, carries the kind of wisdom that only comes from a life fully lived. He tells her that she has become everything her mother dreamed she would be. The words hit her harder than she expected. For years, she carried the shadow of her mother's loss. But in this final scene, Jack's voice lifts that weight. It is not just reassurance, it is truth. Amy closes her eyes for a second, her hand tightening on his, and the camera captures the glisten of tears that she tries not to let fall. Lou adds her voice, telling Amy that no matter what choices she makes, next, the ranch will always be here, and so will the family. Katie slips her small hand into Amy's, bridging one generation to another in a gesture more powerful than any promise. For a second, the three of them, Jack, Amy, and Katie, stand connected, 3 generations in one frame. It is more than a scene. It is a statement about legacy, about how love is carried forward even when people are gone. The horse in the background lets out a soft sound, as if echoing the weight of this moment. The air seems still, the sunset pressing its last light against their faces. The director does not fill the space with music yet. The natural sounds, the wind, the breath of the horse, the quiet rustle of grass become the soundtrack. It feels raw, unpolished, and that makes it even more real. Finally, Amy whispers one more line, something that feels like the heart of the entire season. We've come through so much, and still, here we are. Her words are not loud, but they echo in the silence. The family nods, their faces soft, their eyes bright. It is not the kind of ending that demands applause. It is the kind that makes you pause, that makes you hold your breath for a moment longer because you know you have just witnessed something honest. This key emotional moment does not try to shock the audience. Instead, it gives them something deeper. The comfort of knowing that no matter what happens next, the bond of this family and the spirit of Heartland will always remain unbroken. As the words fade into the evening air, the camera shifts, pulling back to show the family standing together with the ranch spread wide behind them. The colors of the sunset deepen, washing the land in red and gold, almost as if the sky itself is blessing this final moment. The scene slows, not because time has stopped, but because the director wants the audience to feel every second as if it were carved into memory. Amy turns back toward the paddock, and her gaze lands once more on the horse. This is not just any horse. It represents every animal she has saved, every challenge she has faced, and every lesson that shaped her into who she is now. The horse moves freely, untied, its mane catching the last of the sunlight. It is freedom, captured in motion. A silent reminder that Amy's journey has always been about finding strength and letting go, and trust in moving forward. Tim, who has always fought against time and against himself, finally softens here. He removes his hat and holds it at his side, his eyes fixed not on the past but on what lies ahead. That single act carries more weight than a long speech. It is surrender, not to defeat, but to acceptance. The restless man who once kept running now stands still, choosing to stay rooted, at least for this moment. For fans, it signals that even flawed hearts can find peace. Lou and Katie stand together, their silhouettes almost blending. Lou's hand on her daughter's shoulder is a quiet transfer of strength, an unspoken promise that the values of Heartland will live on through Katie. Katie, wide-eyed, reflects the future, the innocence of what is yet to come, but also the strength of the legacy she is destined to carry. Her gaze forward is a symbol of the continuation of the story. Beyond this generation and into the next, then comes the most subtle but powerful choice of the scene. The camera lingers on the ranch itself. Fences, the barn, the fields, the open sky. These are not just background elements. They're symbols of endurance, of a place that has held every triumph and heartbreak. The land becomes a character in itself, a silent witness that will outlive them all, holding their stories. In its soil and wind, the resolution here is not loud or dramatic. It is gentle, deliberate, and timeless. It tells the audience that family is not about perfection or final answers. It is about standing together, finding peace in shared silence, and knowing that life will always move forward, but the bond remains. The symbolism of the ranch, the horse, the sunset, and the quiet gestures of each character blend together into a picture that says more than dialogue ever could. This is Heartland, and it will always be. The moment feels complete, yet the director refuses to close the door too tightly. After the family shares that silent understanding, the camera shifts its focus, giving the audience one final spark of curiosity. Amy walks toward the barn, her figure glowing against the fading light. Just before she disappears inside, she stops. Her hand resting on the wooden frame, she pauses, almost as if she senses something beyond what we can see. The stillness lingers, her eyes narrowing slightly, and though she says nothing, the silence is heavy with promise. It feels like a question hanging in the air: what is waiting for her inside, and what choice will she make next? Shadows stretch long across the stalls. The sound of hooves echoes faintly, but the source isn't shown. The camera only catches glimpses, a flicker of movement, a familiar shape that feels important but remains out of reach. It could be a new horse, one that carries the weight of an untold story. Or perhaps it is an old friend, returned at the right moment. The audience is left to wonder, to fill in the blanks, and that is where the magic lies, the scene whispers. That Amy's journey is far from over, that something new is about to begin. Meanwhile, outside, Katie looks up at Lou with a quiet intensity. She asks her mother if she will ever be ready to take over the ranch one day. Lou hesitates, her eyes flicking toward Amy before answering. She tells Katie that Heartland chooses its people when the time is right, and when that time comes, Katie will know. The conversation feels small, but it carries the weight of legacy. It hints at a future where Katie becomes more than an observer, where she may step into the role that Amy once filled. For longtime fans, this is the thread that ties the past to the future, suggesting that Heartland's story might not end with this generation. Jack, standing a little apart from the others, gazes toward the horizon. His face softens, but there is a shadow in his eyes, as though he knows change is coming. His silence feels like a warning time is moving, and with it will come challenges the family cannot avoid. The shot lingers on him for just a moment longer, then expected, planting an unease that balances the warmth of the resolution. Then the director makes a deliberate choice. The final image is not of Amy or Jack or Lou. It is of the ranch itself at twilight. The sky darkens, the last rays of sunlight slipping behind the hills, and the land grows quiet again. But in the background, almost hidden, the faint sound of a horse neighing breaks the silence. It is not the calm sound from earlier, it is sharper, urgent, like a call. The screen fades to black before the source is revealed, leaving the audience leaning forward, desperate to know what that sound means. This is where the cliffhanger breathes life into the finale. It does not spell out the future, but it plants seeds. Amy's pause at the barn, Katie's question, Jack's heavy silence, and the mysterious call from the dark. All of these threads tug at the audience, reminding them that while season 18 has closed, the story of Heartland has not. It teases that season 19, or whatever comes next, will carry forward with new challenges, new beginnings, and the same unshakable bond that has always defined this family. The screen fades back from black for a heartbeat of Heartland one final time. No words are spoken by the characters anymore, yet the scene itself feels like it is speaking directly to the audience. The ranch in twilight is a reminder that endings are not always final, that sometimes the close of one chapter is simply the quiet turning of a page. The land stands timeless, the fences strong, the barns steady, the fields stretching out like an endless story still waiting to be written. The narration in this faceless video must carry that weight, wrapping the audience in reflection. The voice should not sound like it is reading from a script. It should sound like someone sharing a truth they feel in their chest. The words flow like this: the true heart of Heartland has never been about the twists of drama or the storms that shake. It's people. It has always been about family, about resilience, about finding strength and togetherness. The finale does not end with fireworks or sudden shocks. Instead, it ends in a way that lingers, that settles into the soul like a memory you carry long. After the screen goes dark, the closing narration reminds fans that Amy's journey is not one of isolation. She has carried pain, yes, but she has also carried hope. She has become not just a character on screen, but a symbol of how we can rise after loss. How we can love again, even when we think our hearts have broken beyond repair. Steady. Silence. Tim's quiet acceptance. Lou's gentle promise to Katie. All of these pieces remind us that every generation must take its turn. But the legacy of love never fades. The words then shift to address the viewer directly. You have watched these characters stumble and rise for 18 seasons. You have seen them laugh, cry, and fight their way through. And now, as the sun sets on this chapter, you too are left with the same choice they face: to believe in tomorrow, even when today feels uncertain. The family silence in that final scene is mirrored in your own pause. As a fan, sitting in the stillness, wondering what lies ahead, the outro leaves space for reflection. It asks a gentle question without demanding an answer. What does Heartland mean to you? Is it a place of comfort, a reminder of your own family, or a story of healing that you carry in your heart? This is where the narration connects deeply, because it transforms the scene from something you simply watch into something you feel. Something that belongs to you as much as it belongs to Amy and her family. The final words are soft, but certain. Heartland is not finished. It lives in the bond of its people, in the hope of its land, and in the hearts of every fan who has walked this journey alongside them. The camera fades one last time, not into emptiness, but into the sound of the wind, brushing through the open fields. That sound, gentle and endless, is the promise that the story is never truly over. The story of Heartland Season 18 closes not with a full stop, but with an ellipsis, a pause that invites the audience to lean in, to wonder, to carry the feeling. Beyond the screen, the camera has gone dark, but the weight of those last moments still lingers. The image of Amy pausing at the barn door, the echo of that distant horse call, the quiet strength in Jack's gaze, the hope in Katie's eyes, these are not just parts of a scene. They are threads meant to stay with you long after the credits fade. This final section of the narration must not only honor the ending, but also open the door for the audience to step inside. It tells them that what they have just witnessed is more than a conclusion to a season. It is an invitation. Heartland has always been about more than plotlines. It has been about belonging. It has been about showing that even in the hardest storms, family gives us shelter. And even in the darkest nights, there is always a dawn. The outro makes this clear. The ranch is still breathing, story still alive, waiting for what comes next. The narration takes a softer tone now, guiding the audience into reflection. It says, think of the last scene not as a goodbye, but as a reminder. Life's most powerful endings are often not about closure. They are about handing us the courage to carry forward. For Amy, that means stepping into a future she has not yet defined. For Katie, it means beginning to dream of her own role in the legacy. For Jack, it means letting the next generation stand stronger than ever before. And for you, the viewer, it means holding on to the truth that love, resilience, and hope always continue. Then, the narration shifts slightly, turning toward the audience with intention. The voice should feel close, personal, as though speaking directly to one listener. At a time, you have been on this journey for 18, Sisu.